Hello. In this section I will be discussing the development of the civilization that arose out of the complete destruction of both Lemuria and Atlantia and the migration of hundreds of thousands of people predominantly to the coastal regions of the region that became known as Phoenicia, that was right on the coast, and also further inland and predominantly the civilization of Sumeria. Sumeria was created at a period of history 12,000 years ago in its present form. However, as a civilization, it had colonies that dated back well over hundreds of thousands, well over to a period of at least 242,000 years ago, or 240,000 years BCE, where it was a colony that was genetically pure. There was no genetic mixing between the various elements of the Lemurian reptilians and the Atlantean mammalians. We need to look at the symbolism here also. The Lemurian reptilians went deep underground. They represent the hidden aspect of humanity, and even more so the hidden aspect of the Illuminati. We need to look at the fact also that the Atlantean mammalians stayed above ground, so they appeared open and conscious and aware of everything. But really, the incredible fear they had of the darkness that was represented by the Lemurian reptilian races, a darkness that wasn't and still isn't wholly evil, but to them was perceived as so radically, genetically, physically, intellectually and spiritually different that they could not deal with that vibrational frequency. But through the law of attraction, my Lord, did they attract their interaction that became their genetic entrapment, if you like, into a third dimensional reality perception. And what took place after the period of 12,000 years ago, or 10,000 years BCE, was the emergence from underground of the Lemurian reptilians, who were incredibly vengeful and angry, and they are a race of beings that don't perceive time or consciousness in any way that the humanity does, and certainly not the way the Illuminati does, although they have much more in common with them because they're genetically from their lineage. So we see at that period of 12,000 years ago, or 10,000 years BCE, the slow abduction, slowly but surely, of tens of thousands of people living in that region of Sumeria. Much like we hear of alien abduction today, where they were genetically altered, the babies in the wombs of many of the women were altered, and they were mixed between reptilian genetics and mammalian genetics, and hence were born eventually what became humanity. Those people who would be classed as the kings and the queens, the princes and the princesses of those predominantly mammalian societies, were abducted, and they were, because they were already the leaders of those peoples, were therefore given a much higher percentage of reptilian genetics. And so Sumeria went from being a mammalian consciousness functioning society to a reptilian consciousness functioning society. And after that period that I've already mentioned, the Sumerian society, the culture of Sumerian society, was representative of basically a reptilian consciousness structure. Then came along the introduction of money, of priesthoods, of the oaths that were created through those priesthoods, and the incredibly perverted but very advanced and intellectually developed knowledge that was kept back from humanity. While at the same time the Illuminati in Sumeria ever increasingly took more and more control through warfare, through conflict, through regulated overt and covert control of their reptilian society. So it is an incredible change that took place at that period. It was originally a consciousness change, an alteration in the collective thinking processes that then led to the genetic and physical changes. On the surface, everybody seemed the same. But the creation out of Sumeria of the Illuminati, with their much higher reptilian genetics, a reptilian genetic in contrast to a mammalian genetic base that was in balance meant they were able to shapeshift, literally alter their genetic structure between both the Lemurian reptilian side of themselves to the Atlantean mammalian side of themselves. They had to keep this secret from humanity because we have a lot less reptilian genetics and a higher percentage of mammalian genetics, and therefore we're not able to shapeshift between both aspects of ourselves. If we had that structure in this type of system, we would be where they are today at the top of that hierarchical system, that command structure, and they would not be there. It's as simple as that in this type of system. So we now see the emergence of how from Sumeria to today modern societies are controlled through the Illuminati, and humanity is literally the enslaved masses. With the herd-like mentality, they are herded towards the Novus Ordo Mundi, the New World Order, without question, without resistance. And the awakening, I do believe, is coming. I believe there is a powerful awakening, and that awakening is going to transform completely human consciousness. It is going to keep completely our focus upon wanting to change, because there is so much unhappiness in people, so much misery, and most of humanity, I believe deep down, is sick and tired of this system, are fed up with the people that at the top pretend to be your friends. And they really are the dragons and the serpents. They are the skinwalkers. They hide in the flesh of humanity when they really wear the scales of those dragons and serpents that are the Illuminati. And their bloodlines are not our bloodlines. And again, we need to remember that the Lemurian reptilians and Atlantean mammalians were not naturally meant to be genetically mixed. It's an unnatural resonance. And so every level, whether it's physically and genetically to spiritually, mentally and emotionally, every aspect going back to that period of 12,000 years ago, 10,000 years BCE, is actually very, very unnatural. But we're so used to it, we're so accepting of it, and children are born into this world on every continent, in every culture, with the belief that money is everything, that credit cards, debit cards, material goods, buying stuff and accumulating more stuff, putting it in your house, your homes, and living for the moment is all that really matters. We, humanity, are ascending spiritual beings. We are the lightness beings. The Illuminati are the darkness beings. Okay, reptilian consciousness is darkness. It is not something that is, as I've said before, evil. It is just very different to what naturally the 100% pure-blooded, genetically pure-blooded Atlantean mammalians were. They had much healthier bodies. They had very clear minds. They were able to manifest from their mind patterns and their thought forms everything that they needed without any need whatsoever to worry about any medical issues or viruses. They did not manifest those kind of forms of victimized physical suffering into being. It is because of this inner genetic conflict within ourselves that we have today all of these issues going on this planet. We have a lot of problems. People don't want to deal with them. They deal with only the symptoms and not the causes of the problem. Now, I think I've said enough about the rise of Sumeria, the genetic alterations, the creation of the Illuminati and us, humanity. And in the next section, I'm going to fast forward just a little bit because there is so much to explain in such a short period of time that I really want to talk about what you would call the Imperium Romanum, which was really ultimately where the Illuminati defined very clearly the emergence of their Novus Ordo Mundi, their New World Order. And for them, that was the most perfected, militaristic, ordered, command-structured society of total enslavement, total control. So I'm going to end this section now, but that's what I will be talking about in the next section.